You are listening to the People Centric Podcast, where we talk through the toughest challenges that people face at work and give practical advice to fixing those challenges. Thanks for joining our movement to create workplaces that are happier, healthier, aligned, and empowered by putting people at the center of all that we do.
Hey, people-centric leaders. We are going to talk about a topic today about engagement and the disengagement of people. And so there's a lot of things happening in the world today. There's a lot of people that are out there, that there's a workforce shortage. So we've talked about that a little bit. If you didn't know that, if you missed those episodes, right now in the United States, we have not been making enough babies. That is something that has been occurring for about 20 years. And because we're not making enough babies, there are not enough people in the workforce to fill in all the jobs that we have. Like literally our population growth is not matching our economic growth. So the two lines in economics that are not supposed to cross are the number of unemployed people and the number of jobs. There have been in all of our lifetimes, because everybody's listening to this, up until 2018, there were more jobs needed or more unemployed people than there were jobs opening. So that if you had a job, you could find somebody to fill that job. Now, it might be a little bit harder for some professions and all the things, and there's shortages within individual areas. But right now, in 2018, those two lines have crossed, and those two lines are going to stay crossed for quite a while, for at least through the next decade. So there's a shortage in the workforce. So employers are starting to feel this shift in how employees are thinking about their jobs. Are the employees it's a kind of an employee market. It's like there's a shortage of employees. So employees are starting to get pickier about their jobs. Well, Diana recently found an article in the Wall Street Journal. Ever heard of it? Dropping the Wall Street Journal out there, the Wall Street Journal. And Diana sent me the article, which I could not read because I do not have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. But then Diana summarized it for me and said, sorry, Wall Street Journal. I guess I could throw the dollar down to read the article. I did feel that is kind of a funny, now that I replay that in my head, and I was like, you should check out this article. And I'm like, it costs $1. No way. You just tell me about it. Let's use your time.
I wouldn't have bought the article either. So I get it. I would not have paid the dollar. I would have been like, what's it say?
I don't know, just tell me what's your point, Diana? Just tell me the thing. And it talks about this pendulum, and it suggests that the pendulum is swinging back the other direction. So the pendulum is swinging either towards the employees or to the employers. And when it swings towards the employees, the idea is employees, you've got the power. Employers need you, you get to decide. So that means you get multiple interviews and jobs. You get to go and you get to interview your employers. That means employers, you have to kind of cater to your employees. You have to do stuff. You have to do the potluck suppers and the ping pong tables, and you have to worry about your culture, and you have to pay more money and do all of that kind of stuff. And you have to think about work-life balance and all of that. Well, this article was saying a lot of companies are sick of it. They're tired of it, and they're pushing back. And they're saying, no, employees, guess what? In this job, it's not a job where you're going to have work-life balance. This is a job where your soul belongs to us. This is a job where you're going to work 80 hours a week. This is a job where we want people who are going to hustle. That's what it's going to do. Now we're going to pay you well. We're going to be competitive. You're going to make good money on it. But we are literally going to tell you that we are going to rebel against the culture side of things and the team side of things, and we're going to bring you in. So that's what we wanted to talk a little bit about today. That strategy, we're calling it the disengagement strategy. It's a legit thing. It's a real thing that's out there. It's not new either. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. So on today's call, we've got Diana, who sent the article. Thanks for finding that article and for summarizing it for me.
Of course, yeah. You do the same for me. I know you would if you had an article that I couldn't read. In fact, I think you do that a lot. I don't have a SBJ subscription anymore, but you do. It's like a whole thing.
Wow, shout out to our friends at SBJ. Yeah, sorry. Oh, that's true. Yeah, because you don't live
in Springfield
anymore.
Yeah, it will be, I'm still very interested, but I can just ask you what the article says.
If you're listening from outside of the Springfield, Missouri area, this SBJ is the Springfield Business Journal, which is a fine publication in our area that keeps us up to date on all the happenings in the region. We also have Philip Herzog. Philip, we started talking about this topic and you got kind of passionate about it, like talking about these different strategies. I'm curious, like, what's your, jump in here. What do you think?
I subscribe to the Springfield Daily Citizen, which is the best. SBJ, I just get Don's copy paste notes from, which is also very good. Yeah, we were talking about strategies, and it's funny. Even yesterday, I was with a group in Arkansas, and they're literally experiencing this same problem. We were working with their executive team talking about communication, and they said, we have a big group of developers and folks in our IT teams who are leaving in the next 2 years, if not sooner. And they just spoke very candidly, and we don't know what we're going to do next. Like our current developers can't do it. And I said, do you think your current developers could do it? And they were like, oh yeah, totally, totally, totally. Do they know that you think they could do it? And I'm like, yeah, we could probably be better at that. And it was cool. The conversation became, what do they want? What do you think they want? What do you want? What do you need and want? And so not having to pit the power of an employer or employee against each other, but I think looking at just that, what do you want to do in your own life, team member, employee, and can you do that here in the direction that we're also wanting to go? And so I think that's part of the cool thing with alignment is that if you're beat down into not caring, it's really easy to get people aligned. You're just here for a paycheck. Come get your check, go. But if you want to build a life and get a paycheck and do good things on both sides of that, like at home and beyond, that's really important. And anyway, I just said that I met someone else this week, end of his career, and he just told me how much he hated his job almost all the time. And the reason that conversation came up is because he was like, what do? You seem to like what you do. And this guy made a lot of money. He did a lot of cool things with his family when he wasn't at work, but he hated his job. And that is just terrible. So, yeah, the pendulum, where is it going to swing? I say, let's just take down the pendulum.
Yeah, there it is. Well, Philip just dropping some truth bombs just right off the bat.
Amen, brother. Amen.
So,
Take
so,
the pendulum down.
so let's break that down, Philip, because you dropped some really good wisdom there, and I think that you said a lot of really really good things, and I just want everybody to make sure that they catch what you just said. So you just worked yesterday with a large employer who has teams of people who are like this team's going to retire and who's coming up behind them, like what's going to happen next. If you are a believer in the pendulum, so if you're a believer in the pendulum, which the pendulum says it's either going to be employees got the power or the employers have the power. If you believe in the pendulum, then you have two choices on how you're going to approach that, right? And so one approach, which sounded like a little bit of like what they were doing from the employee, they were saying like the employees have the power. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the employees and say like, what do you want? What's the future? How can we've got a little bit of a need. Do you think you could help us here? What would this look like? And then leaning into that. They could have swung the other direction, right? And said, by the way, you are all lucky to have a job. Do you know how many layoffs there have been in the tech industry, and AI is coming up and AI is going to replace most of you, and you're just lucky to be here. And they could break them like a horse, right? That's how you break, like when this idea of like breaking, I've never raced horse. Isn't that a thing? Like, don't you break a horse? Like if you find a wild horse.
You know nothing about, we've seen horses. What are we?
We've been to
I know
Kentucky.
nothing about horses. I don't know.
I was
They
going to say
stand
the
like
same. I was like, we fly over a lot of horses when we fly into Lexington. That's as much people-centric horse experience as we have. Yeah.
I got the horsemanship award back in like 7th grade for camp. So that's pretty cool.
What's horsemanship?
Horse.
I'm an awesome horse rider. I was good at it.
Yeah.
I was a natural. Yeah, I rode horses in camp. We had the coolest camp. It was Camp St. John's. Shout out to Camp St. John's out in Elkhorn, Nebraska. And we would go out there and we stayed at this campus of this high school that was like a boarding school. And we would go horseback riding. And most people, when they go horseback riding, they do like the trail thing where the horses are just like nose to butt, on the trail, and you're not really like steering the horses anywhere. This is like wide open, like out in the prairie ride, like you see in the movies, kind of horseback riding. And it was awesome and amazing. And also when you're that free and the horses are that free to do stuff, you learn that it's you or the horse. Like the horse has a lot of choice in that. The horse has just as much probably more power than you have as the rider. So like this is not a bad analogy here.
This is
I was
very
gonna say, I
good,
think I've
Ron.
lost the plot. Can you bring it back?
Oh, I was thinking this is it. This is when Don, the engineer brain, also the engaged people brain, it all started on this horse field with 7-year-old Don.
Started with the horses. Oh,
Started with the horses. So if you think the analogy that's hitting me, Diana, because I know it's hard to get into my brain sometimes. we were talking about breaking horses first of all, and then you seemed a little judgmental, like, what do you know about breaking horses? And I'm like, I don't know anything about breaking horses, but I did get a 7th grade horsemanship award. So I just want you to know, like, there's a little bit of, I rode horses for a few days.
I'm so sorry I questioned your
Yeah,
horse knowledge.
it's not
Thank
street
you.
cred because you were just in the fields, but it is
Thank you.
cred. It's some amount of cred, that's for sure.
Thank you. But like the analogy that strikes me is like, so riding the horse, my friend rode his horse and he didn't really like his horse. And he was like saying like stupid horse. And I don't know if horses can understand you, but I think they can feel you,
Dude,
And so
animals do understand you. Animals understand you.
they understand the feeling, they understand the spirit of it. And so he gets on his horse every day, and every day that horse would do something to mess him over. Every day. Like one time there was a barbed wire fence, and the horse just walked right up next to the barbed wire fence and just ground his leg right across his barbed wire fence. Like he was wearing shorts. I mean, it hurt him pretty good. Probably hurt the horse a little bit, but the horse knew exactly how much to press against that barbed wire fence. Another time he was getting particularly angry with this horse because he's like, why did I get the stupid horse? I want a different horse and all that stuff. And they made us take the same horse so you can kind of form a relationship with the horse, I think, over time. But the horse literally just like got sick of him and slowly walked under this low tree branch, which is the funniest thing I think I've ever seen, because the horse didn't like run under the tree branch. It just slowly walked under this branch that was just taller than the horse, which gave him no choice but to grab onto the tree branch as the horse walked out from underneath him. There's nothing else he could do because he couldn't get down low enough. That was a funny memory. So, like, if you're thinking, is it the horse or the rider? Like, if it's that versus that, like, that's the idea of the pendulum, right? It's either going to be the horse or it's going to be the rider. Which one is going to win? And so you could break the horse and you're like, I'm going to beat you, horse, until you go into submission. And that's some horses. I think that's how some riders do it, is you say, I'm going to break the horse so that the horse does whatever I tell you to do. But then you don't get like a great horse experience. Or the horse might say, no, I'm going to win this. I'm the one that's got the power. And I'm going to run you by a barbed wire fence. And I see Diana still like, I still don't see how you're tying this back in. Is this totally unsuccessful? Are we just going to have to edit this whole section out? What's going on right now?
No, I think it's okay. I think what you're saying is there's 2 different tactics that you could take. You could take the build a relationship tactic or the break you down tactic.
That's good. That's really good.
Okay.
I think that's exactly what I said, but you just said it much simpler and clearer than what I was saying.
Okay.
Well, it's like, Philip said, like, take down the pendulum. And the idea of the pendulum is like, there's a winner between the employer and the employee. What you're saying, Diana, is there doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I hate the pendulum because this idea comes up in society a lot and in our work a lot of like, oh, well, now it's an employer's party, now it's the employee's party. Like, I hate it. I hate it so much because what I really want is for employees to be grateful and thankful for their jobs and enjoy where they work, and for employers to be grateful and thankful for the work that is provided by the employees and enjoy their employees. And I want everyone to treat each other as human beings. We were talking a lot about horses. They're very smart. I don't know how this is going to tie together. In my brain, I was like, don't treat them like a horse, treat them like a human. And now I'm regretting everything I've just said.
Treat them like a horse, like I treated them like a horse, where you get the horsemanship award, Diana, where your horse loves you and your horse takes care of you.
It's important.
If you fall off the horse waits for you. And so you can get back on the horse.
That's a horse get a horse that's not an idiot horse, and then be good to the horse. So you keep the horse around. My name, actually, there's 2 versions. It's 1L, and the French version, that's how I spell my name. And my first experience with a horse, my mom was like, you know what, son, your name means one who is a fan of horses. A lover of horses is what it really means. So I have great respect for horses as well. And I know this is for Diana. But what I was thinking that's kind of awesome about your analogy, Don, and it's so small, but when you mentioned the horse that just stays on the trail, also like the horse is just walking along this trail doing it together, that's really a horse that's just an object, right? Like people who ride a horse on a trail, like me, that's the main extent of my horse experience. You're just on it. It's just an object. And I think that's what we do with work. to tie in what Diana is saying.
The horse
Like
is disengaged in the trail, right,
that's
Philip?
it, the trail, and then the rider is even disengaged. And if you're looking at the workplace as an employee or an owner or leader in a team, I think you can also treat other people like objects. If your employee is the object, you're here to make us money at this company. So why do you have needs? Just stop being so needy, stop being human-like, and just get to work. Be thankful for your job. And if the employee objectifies the company, it's like, look, I don't care about you. I don't really care about your goals or whatever. I am just here to get the paycheck to go do my thing. And so it is really objectifying. So I like, again, that we're talking about this when you talk about the power and the object of what it does for you, as opposed to like, why are you showing up to work to begin with? And do you believe in the work you're actually doing? And if so, it should take you somewhere, both the employee and the company.
That's very wise. And my favorite part about that whole thing was Diana going, really? We're still going to run with the horse analogy. We're not putting the horse thing down.
We're wild horses.
Diana, Gallup says that only 32% of employees are engaged at work. That's a Gallup poll. That's a Gallup poll, Diana.
I don't know how to get us out of here. I don't know what to do.
I feel like you're saddled with us for a while here.
She's saying nay to these stories. Done here.
Why the long face?
Hey,
Yeah.
stop it.
So many horse analogies. Yeah. Well, on the trail, the horse can't run. And I'll tell you something. Have you ever been on a horse? We're leaning into this. Diana's face is so awesome. Philip, you've ridden horses before. I'm guessing you're from Colorado.
Yes.
Have you ever been on a horse that's been full run, like full gallop?
Oh, terrifying. Yes. And I was not a great horse rider. That's why I respect them from a distance. And it's terrifying. It is not a smooth experience. You know what I mean? And the horse, the moment you tell, it's just the ears. That's all I remember. They say, pay attention to the ears. The ears will tell you what the horse will do. But they don't tell you what to do after that. What do you do? What do you do? Diana's horse. She can't speak right now.
It goes so fast, but it is terrifying when they go running. And I'm just out in the field. The first time my horse actually galloped, I thought it was going fast, and then it went fast. Then it was going super, super fast. And I did not know my horse could do that. And it's taken off. And at first you're terrified because if you fall off that thing when it's going that fast, you're gonna get hurt. It's not like in the movies. It's gonna be terrifying. But then it's really exhilarating. You're going super fast. It's I didn't even know my horse could do that. I think employees are the same way, Diana.
I am so confused. So confused. Okay, so
You're
am
the
I
horse.
a horse?
Yeah, you're the horse.
Who's the rider? Are you the rider?
Well, no, I mean you're the horse and the rider. I don't think it can't be more clear than that. Yeah. No, the employer is the rider and the employee is the horse. And the horse can can do a lot. The horse can run really fast, but if you keep the horse nose to butt on the trail, like most people do with their horses, they're disengaged horse. The horse, you never find out what the horse can do. And we tend to think it's either the horse or the rider, and it can be both. So that's what we're saying. Get rid of we're going back to the pendulum thing.
Okay,
The idea. So
I followed that.
old school management, I'll pivot here. We've talked about this a lot. If you read old school management, or if you watch those movies in the 1940s and 50s, if about work, somebody at work, you'll hear words well, I have a responsibility to you have the responsibility to the firm that employs you. You'll hear them say things like that. And that is what I've always thought of as a disengagement strategy. Literally, the idea is to break you as you come in, to say there is no place else you can go. It's a bad, and even if the relationship is bad, if you think about it, not to get real deep into that analogy, but if you're in a bad relationship with somebody, one of the ways that people keep you in that relationship is make you think there's no place else for you to go. And that's kind of what that Wall Street Journal article said that some companies are starting to employ, is to say boy, you're just lucky you found the job. And they're using things well, we're an elite company. You'll never find another company like us. You've made it. You've worked for one of the best companies in the world, and we are awesome, and we're going to pay you really, really well. And so then, therefore, it doesn't matter how we treat you or what happens next. And they gaslight you into believing that there's no place else for you to go. And what we're saying is like, and that strategy doesn't not work. It doesn't not work. It does keep people in the relationship and it does keep people working. But we know from Gallup polls and other things, not pulling back to the horse, but it's called Gallup, Diana. I didn't name it. It's called Gallup. It's
I
called
never
Gallup.
thought it would tie in as well as it did. I don't know. It's great tie-in.
They were very foresightful and they knew we were going to use that analogy someday and they were prepared for it. That's kudos to the Gallup people. But we know that disengaged employees are much less productive than engaged employees. We know that when they're on the trail, nose to the butt, they walk a lot slower. We know that when they're working at the company, they do it a lot, but they won't leave. They're less likely to leave. A disengaged employee is less likely to leave. So when the newer strategy came into place, that said maybe we could engage people. Maybe we're not hardwired for that. Maybe, Philip, that person you talked to, like, if you didn't see all three of our faces at the same time, if you're watching us on YouTube, we were like all of us. That hurts our hearts, right? That hurts you in the feels when you hear somebody who's late in their career, who's probably very gifted in all the things, who walked on a trail their whole life and never got a chance to run. Like, that's sad. That's devastating. That's horrible. And the writer, the employer, never got a chance to see what that person could really do. They never really got to see that. And that's a tragedy. But when your employees can do those things, you might fall off, right? To go back to the horse analogy, like things are challenging. So what's our message here for the employers, that they don't have to choose this? What's the message to the employees? What are we trying to say? What's the point we're making?
Some about horses. I don't know anymore. I lost the plot many times. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so you mentioned the concept of loyalty, and I think that a lot of people have heard that in their career, like either, oh, you have to be loyal, or we respect loyalty, or an employer saying something like employees aren't loyal anymore. And I think that kind of ties to this like pendulum thing, where if employees are loyal, they're loyal for some reason, and the loyalty is because it's the employer's advantage, right? Or if they're not loyal, it's because it's the employee's advantage and they can just go wherever they want to go. And I don't think either of those things are true. I think it's more of a people are loyal to the people that they respect and care about. And true loyalty does not come from fear. And so I think some of those tactics of like, you don't have any place to go, you should be lucky to sit here. Yeah, I'm asking you to work 80 hours a week, but like, what are you going to do? What else are you going to do? And also, I've made you work 80 hours a week, so you can't possibly have time to go out and find another job. You're shackled here. But I think you can create true loyalty by saying, you're smart, you're capable, and I want to see what you can do. Here's a project, here's a thing, here's where I see your strengths, here's what I would love for you to grow into. Just give them a path, give them the open space to run with guardrails. It's the guardrails to act, freedom to move.
Which is that balance of the empowerment alignment that we always talk about, right? Because if you
Yeah.
just give them stuff, we've talked about this. If you're an employer and you're thinking, well, the employees have all the power here, and you're buying into the pendulum, and you start giving them things, those things, what you don't create engagement, you create entitlement. And entitlement means now the employees are going to push back. They're going to do things that you don't like them to do. They're not going to run. They're going to run in directions you don't want them to do. They're going to demand more from you. That's not going to work. So you have to balance those two different things. Philip, you alluded to that earlier about the alignment in the story, even that you shared with that company that you worked with yesterday, right? As they're trying to figure out the direction, how does that company, what's the conversation look like, you think, between that company and that next generation of leadership?
I love that question. And I think it's different than entitlement too. It could be part of their fear in talking to those people is, well, maybe they don't want what we want for them. Maybe they don't want that now, or they want something different. And in asking, you're opening yourself up to frustration. And I think that's the old school mindset. If I'm the employer and you should do what I want and go the direction I want, and then you disagree with me, well, now it's a battle and buckle up. And that's hard for me as an employer because we know managers don't like hard conversations already. Most people don't. And then on top of that, I'll have to figure out how to work with you later. Our previous podcast about the rock and the way and how to flow around it. And so I think some of it is just an invitation, right, of the conversation to explore a little bit and to understand them and what they want and what they see. And I think what we see with so many teams, oftentimes leaders might be thinking something and they don't know where their team is at. But when they start to talk with their team, a lot of them see the same thing. A lot of people have the same frustrations or the same hurdles, and you really do want to be a part of something that succeeds. So oftentimes, so often those conflict conversations or where you don't know if there's alignment for the future, people find out, oh my gosh, there's actually so much more here that we all agree on and see in the same way. Why were we so confused? Why were we so unsure? And what we were talking about a little bit before, that idea of entitlement or objectifying of your company or your team or the people you work for or with, is that manipulation and motivation are so often just two different sides of the same coin. And Diana shared something really, really insightful. We were just giving examples and stories of maybe when people around us or ourselves have felt manipulated by leaders versus motivated. And Diana, you said there's a very clear difference between the two things, manipulation or motivation.
Yeah. We were talking about it and I said the difference is intent. And while you can't ever know someone else's intent, you have to ask them. You know your own intent. So if you're an employer and you're like, I am telling them this to control them or to, I don't know, keep them here because I don't want them to leave or to give them, ideas that the competitor is worse than us, that's manipulation. But if you're doing it because you're like, no, I really do think I want to help them. I want them to grow. I want the best for them. That's motivation, right? And so it's the intent behind what you're doing. Manipulation and motivation there's a fine line there.
And I like how you're laying that out. It's the manipulation. Like, so what are why are we linking manipulation and motivation into those two things? And it goes back to what Philip said. The employer needs something. The employee needs something. We work with a lot of employers who are afraid to tell the employees what they need. We also work with a lot of employers who are not 100% even sure what they need, and they don't want to be vulnerable and say are not sure what the company needs next. And when they don't share that, then the employees don't know how to help them. Then the alignment piece is going to drop away. The alignment piece will not work as well. Same thing on the employee side. Is it possible that the employer and the employee may not want the same things and it might end up in a breakup or turnover? And the answer is yes. But as the employer, you have to decide if that is true. Don't you want to identify that? If there's true misalignment inside, that misalignment is hurting you in ways that are hard to see sometimes. And if somebody did leave, I think of like Bethany Bishop on our team, who we give her a shout out from time to time, right? Fantastic team member, great. Everybody's a fan of hers that got to work with her. She wanted to get into the healthcare industry while she was working with us. There were moments when she was throwing that idea out to me and talking to Diana about it, where we could have said like, oh, you don't want to do that. There's no future in that. And we could have manipulated her into saying, no, that's not really, this is really where you want to stay. And there's probably a part of both of us that were like, we don't want you to leave. So that it's tempting to maybe do that. But that would have been absolute manipulation, and it wouldn't have been good for her, and it wouldn't have been good for us long term. So we leaned into it and said, if that's what you're looking for, like, then lean into that. Like, we'll help you with it. What can we do to support you in that change? And she made the change, and she's wildly successful now in that healthcare field. And that feels good. While we would all love to still work with her on a day-to-day basis, right? We miss her from that standpoint. At the same time, she's stayed in touch. We've been able to talk about things. She's brought us resources. We brought her resources. Like, that relationship that goes out. And if you're looking at it from a pure business standpoint, she speaks highly of the company that she worked with. So our reputation out there in terms of our ability to attract future talent into the organization, our ability to get clients out there, she's become a big part of our reputation out there because we did things the right way, even though it ended in a way that was not where I think we would have chosen necessarily to say, oh, we want to work together. But that's hard. That's a difficult leap. But it's the idea that there's not a pendulum. It's not either we win or you win. It's possible that we can both win. It's possible that we can work together on this.
I love, what you were sharing, Don, of kind of that idea. It says a lot about you and your culture if someone's thinking, oh, I wonder where I as a leader fall on this pendulum, or my organization. You can really measure this a lot by how you talk about people when they no longer work for you or with you. And the same, what do people say about you when they no longer work with and for you? And that says everything right there. And if you can celebrate people that grow and leave, they may come back. There's a couple of teams we work with where they were a great fit. Some people left thinking, wow, I've been developed, I can grow, I can do these other things. They went elsewhere and decided the alignment here, the horses on this other pasture are not the same. I'm coming back, still with these great skills and gifts. And I'm sure that when Bethany Bishop is CEO of the state of Tennessee, there will be continued partnership, right? To your point, the relationship is different, but it continues versus ending. And that's when it's a transaction because I need your work and skill versus I need your work and skill and you're a human being and there's relationship beyond that.
Yeah, I think the advice that strikes me, Philip, when you say that is if whether you're an employee or an employer, if anyone is trying to take away your power, if they're trying to take it away versus saying like, how do we leverage it? How do we use it together? Then something's really broken. You might be in a bad relationship. If you're an employee and your employer is telling you this is the only place for you to go, and you really feel like you're trapped and there's no place else for you to go, if your employer had any role in making you feel that way, I'm here to tell you, as somebody who's taking a step back and looking at the industry and the world right now in the US, there's opportunities for you. There's so many opportunities. You can go do something different. You can go find something different. Now, don't just do it. Don't be stuck in the toxic employer and thinking employee thing and saying, well, all employers are terrible. And don't get lost in that. Be a rock star wherever you are. Be awesome. Perform at the highest possible level that you can. And if you can't do it for your employer, do it for your teammates. Do it for the other people that are there. Do it for yourself. But then if you feel like you're stuck and your employer is trying to use that strategy, like, look, this is where the rebellion is going to happen. We're trying to create a revolution, and we've long time figured out that the revolution is not going to come from the employer. It's going to come from the employee demanding more. And the good news, employers, those of you who haven't figured it out yet, those employees, what they're demanding is going to be better for you as well. As long as you hold them accountable and also hold alignment on what's out there. It's a balance. It's got to be a relationship. We've got to be together. The horse and the rider must be one.
My final thought, I was thinking, Honest Abe never lied, Abraham Lincoln. And he has this to say about horses. Maybe he lied a couple times. War is hard. I can make a general in 5 minutes, but a good horse is hard to replace.
That's very good. I actually know the context of that quote. That's funny. That was after they lost. There was is it right after a battle? It was the cavalry from the Confederacy came and they separated a supply line and they took all these horses and they captured a couple of generals. And that was Abraham Lincoln's comment. He's like, I can replace the general. I can't those horses. I can't replace. That's funny.
I cannot believe there was a quote that ties into what we were talking about today. This is amazing. This has worked out surprisingly well. And I'm just really shocked at the talent on this team to create the pun, have the storyline. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a fun topic to talk about. It's one that we're passionate about. And when Diana found that article and shared it, I think all of us had the same reaction to it of like, that takes the movement backwards, right? If you're the employer and you think that, and the way that the power that the employee has is don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. You might not be able to change that employer that's doing that, but you can go to the next one and you can go across the street and then you can kick the last employer's ass by moving across the street and being a great employer there.
Yeah. And to the story that Philip told, don't be the guy at the age of 65 who just was like, I hated my job the whole time. You don't have to live like that. You don't have to live like that.
And don't be the business owner who creates that in your wake.
Man.
That's your legacy. You made a lot of money and you ruined a lot of people's lives.
I would
That's what you did.
burst into tears if that was what my legacy was.
Yeah, it's sad. But we all know people who've said that. I've had friends who've said that to me, who've said, like, nobody enjoys their job. Nobody gets to do that. And it's like, no, you can. There's a vision for that. It's out there. And when you're running full speed out in the field on top of that horse, it's terrifying at first, and then it's exhilarating, and then think about what you can do next. That's exciting. So thanks a lot for joining us on this podcast episode. We enjoyed riding along this with you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the People Centric Podcast. We are so grateful for you joining us every week. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Also, feel free to share on your social media with everyone that you know. It really does help us. If you would like to contact us, I have put our information in the show notes. Please reach out anytime. We love hearing from you. We will be back next week with a new topic. Until then, be well and